So we're ready to create our first stack. The first thing that we want to do is to create a class called stack. So let's go ahead and do that. Class stack. And let's start off now within the class by defining some variables that we're going to need. The first is to keep track of the max size. That's the max size of our collection. Now the next variable that we want is an array of strings, and we'll call this appropriately the stack array. And what we're going to keep track of, I'm a big fan of movies, so this is going to be our container for the list of movies. The third variable is going to be top, and this will represent the index position of the last movie in the stack. Now what I'm going to want to do is just assign the values in a constructor. So let me just go ahead and use this awesome method stub that I love here, CTOR. I wish we had method stubs in real life to make life a lot easier. Within this constructor, we're going to assign max size to the value of size. And size is being passed in to our constructor. Next is the stack array, and that will be a new instance of an array. And we'll make sure to indicate max size for this array. After that will be top, and we'll initialize that with -1, since that is always the first item in the array. And that's it for our constructor. Now we talked about how the stack has push and pop methods. Let's go ahead and create the push method. It's going to return nothing, so I'll indicate void here and call it push, but it will take in a string parameter and I'll just name it M. And what I want to do in here is to first check to see if the stack is full. We want to limit the size in our particular case for this exercise. So I'm going to do that by just putting in a check to see if it is full to do something, else we'll do something else. And that something else is going to be to increase top, increment it by 1, and then assign our stack array with the index of top, the value of M, which was passed in to our push method. And in this section here, if it is full, all we're going to do is write, indicating to the user that the stack is full. This stack is full. By the way, if you're wondering how come I didn't have console.writeLine, that's because of this new feature. We can now use a using statement that indicates a static as a keyword and mentioning something like system.console, so we don't need to write that. And immediately we have access to WriteLine. But for now, let's go ahead and finish up our push method by creating our isFull method. And here, all we're going to do is return max size -1 equals top. All right. So does it make sense why we have this -1? It's because of how we initialize in the constructor. Max size is a value set passed in. The array starts with 0, so we must subtract 1 when checking it full. I'm going to do one more method and then I'll stop. Let's now go ahead and create the pop method. We'll call it pop, and in here we will check to see if it is empty. Now before I continue, let me go ahead and just quickly create the isEmpty method. And here we will return top equals -1. And this is our safety check to see if it's empty. And if so, top must be -1. So now back to our pop method, what we're going to do, if it is empty, is similarly write out to the console that the stack is empty. And then just because we have to return a string, let's just go ahead and return double dashes. But what if it's not empty? What then? So the first thing will be to define an integer. Let's call this old top, and we will assign it the value of top. And then right after that, we will decrement top. And the last step will be to return our stack array and assign it the index of old top. So let's talk about what's going on here. On the first line, 47, we are making a copy of the current top index position. And right after that, we reduce the index number. And on the last line, we return the stack array with that index position. And remember what I mentioned earlier, we aren't actually removing items. We're just using pointers. When we push, we increase the top value by 1, and when we pop, we decrease it by 1. And that's what's happening here. We're going to go ahead and finish up with a couple more methods. That's up next.